Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and yes, my facial hair has disappeared. Mostly because I did those videos the other day, month in review stuff, it was all incredibly miserable and it just fell off, who knew? But anyway, today, the thing that I want to talk about is something that's born kind of from observing the sad experiences of others and analysing my own, but which I feel is a kind of important takeaway from various things, especially in the modern world where everyone wants instant gratification, wants everything to happen now, wants a lot of speed, a lot of kind of velocity from point A to point B in regards to whatever it is that they're doing and whatever it is that they're trying for. And as a result, I want to talk about kind of not rushing relationships. Um, it's this thing that I have seen over and over and over again, and yet it never seems to lead people to being happy. It only seems to lead to disappointment. It only seems to lead to bad breakups, to hard situations, to having to explain things that you don't want to revisit to people that even if they're trying to be supportive, can never really find the right way to do it. It's if someone is rushing really hard, is just headlong, head over heels, straight into a relationship, then there are an awful lot of questions that they should be asking themselves and analysing. And this is where, again, like from some of my worst experiences, there was just a rush into things. From some of the friends that I had in school when I was in no way attractive, and I saw them rushing headlong into relationship after relationship after relationship, and just due to that need to either add notches to a bedpost or to invariably kind of be with someone as a means of validation or otherwise. It would always be that kind of breakdown, and the breakdown would be much slower than the beginning, but it would be so much more kind of problematic and traumatic in some instances than the beginning ever could be. And more recently, where so many of my friends have been going off and getting married and engaged and whatever else, and even kind of other people that I've been interacting with have just been randomly saying, oh, so and so has got married, so and so is getting engaged, and then seeing a good number of them just kind of collapse just because someone asked a question, someone just said yes. They didn't think it through, they just went with it. There was no kind of analysis of the situation, no objectivity, no structure, no real kind of agreement of where they were going and what they were doing. And as a result, things fell to pieces. And it's really sad when that happens, because especially when it looks like those people are going to be doing really well together, or it seems on the outside that things are fine, and then you have a closer look, or they do, and it falls to pieces after the fact. It's a really hard thing, especially when you like that person. Seeing someone go through that, where they got really invested in an idea, really invested in a thing, everything that they wanted seemed to be coming to pass to one extent or another, and then something, be it just like reality catching up with them, be it the lack of a structure to or a lack of agreement to what they're doing, it all falls to pieces. And this is where I'm going to advocate right now for greater communication, of course, but also take your time, because without learning about one another, without understanding each other, without coming to agreements on things, it's always going to run into that kind of problem. And there are always going to be some things that you don't see 100% eye to eye on. There are always going to be some things that are always going to be, to one extent, points of contention. But again, there are those points where, when you're discussing a thing, if you're able to discuss a thing, then it might be a case of seeing that other person's point of view and going, I understand that. I wouldn't want it for me, but I understand it for you. And then that allows that middle ground to be found, which is so important in a relationship. Rushing into things, you miss all of that. Rushing straight from The honeymoon period of the first time you say kind of "I love you" and the first time you're jumping into bed with each other, the first time you're seen in public with each other as a couple, and all that kind of thing. Going from that, like, straight through as fast as you can within like a year, 6 months, keeping in mind that a year to 6 months is usually the amount of time it takes us to adapt to a new norm in our environment. It takes you about 6 months minimum kind of time to settle into a new job and a new environment properly. And so as a result, even for people who adjust very quickly, it takes at least a good couple of months. And so keeping that in mind, going from the first time you feel comfortable saying "I love you" or being seen in public as a couple or whatever else, going from that within, that adjustment period, going from there straight to we're getting married, we're getting engaged, we're going and doing all these things. Sometimes it works for people. For those people, fair enough. But for the majority of people, it doesn't seem to, because all of that working things out, that discussion, that learning, that developing of new memories and new ideas, of reaching compromises, all of that stuff just gets swept away and forgotten. And especially when you're learning new things about your partner, it can be really, really difficult to kind of separate things out. Because when we're in that kind of honeymoon floaty period of, yay, I'm not alone anymore after getting into a new relationship, like, that lasts for a while. And it varies from person to person or from relationship to relationship, but that can last for a reasonable amount of time. And during that time, you are going to ignore so many of the weaknesses that your partner has. You are going to lie to yourself. You are going to lie to them. You are going to be both insecure, nervous, incredibly confident, cocky, and all of these things, like, fluctuating in and out from one space to another. And as a result, though, that's where things break down. Because again, if you're having to lie to yourself a lot, then that's part of the problem. Like, you should be able to acknowledge the weaknesses of your partner and take them on board and still love them as much as you did before. Possibly loving them for their weaknesses, insecurities, and areas that they are just incapable, instead of getting infuriated and frustrated by it. But again, if you haven't got the presence of mind to do that during the honeymoon period at the beginning of a relationship, and if then you race straight forward to an actual honeymoon, then by the time you learn those things, that might very well be too late, and it might end up being horrible for you. When people are rushing forward into relationships, into living together, into marriage and into financial investment together, be it in property or in family or whatever, that kind of extracting yourself from that's hard. Especially when you've become intertwined on a legal level, then unentwining yourselves becomes incredibly complicated, and it usually requires an awful lot of time, money, and hardship as well, which is something that most people ideally would probably like to avoid. And again, this is where I go, I've said before that there's no point in settling, but being realistic about your standards, your options, the things that you want to do, and the places that you're looking for a partner are all important. But even once you've found a partner, even once you've found that space that you want to occupy and those things that you want to do and whatever else, the important thing to then keep in mind after the fact is that moving forward into that space has to be a process. It has to be a gradual progression towards the ideal that you want. It can't just be an instant thing. There's no point in rushing. Whether you found this person on a dating app, social media, and you think that they're perfect and it's kind of like straight ordered from the catalogue, love this, it's great, Whether it's that or it's finding someone through friends or whatever else, there has to be that learning time. There has to be that time of gradual progression into a relationship. Because if you don't have that, then that's where you end up with marriages that only last a year and collapse, causing young people huge amounts of financial and emotional hardship, messy breakups, people kind of just who have got a house together just up and leaving and screwing over both of them potentially financially. You know, there's an awful lot that kind of rolls through with this and causes all manner of other problems around this stuff for people. And you know, it seems to me, from watching others, from my own experience, from you know, all of these other things, the way to get past this is, again, to be patient, to take your time, to, you know, be a bit more methodical and be a bit more introspective and aware and questioning. You know, one of the things that I was really thankful for and really enjoyed doing when it came to the time that I started going out with Hannah was the fact that, because we were so separate, one of the things that we would do was just ask each other a lot of questions. You know, that set a very good basis for kind of who each of us was, and we were under no real pressure to answer dishonestly, you know, and so that is the thing, being honest, being straightforward, and taking your time. You know, as said, when we've been talking about our other analogies of like building a tower for conversation and not building it on sand, building it on rock, building it somewhere stable and solid, you know, using facts as that, do the same with your relationships. And you can't build a high quality structure that will last decades by doing it all with cheap materials and rushing it. You have to take your time. You have to work out where you're going with the next thing that you're adding to it. You need to make sure that it's all structurally sound before you first start wandering around in there, so that it doesn't collapse and kill you both. You know, it's that slow progression of building the tower on a strong foundation to really stand the test of time. But you know, there's just some thoughts I wanted to bring across to you guys, because I saw another set of people that I'm friends with kind of going through problems with this because of a friend of theirs had basically got to the point of marriage, and then everything had fallen apart. So you know, it's a sad and miserable situation when it happens. But, you know, take the time, work things out, have discussions, reach consensus. You know, where you can't reach consensus, either just accept and appreciate, or see if there's another way around it. Again, comes from conversation. There are two people there, two heads to work on a problem. Put them to work. Go and test these things out. But anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your experiences. You know, it's one of these things that I'm sure everyone has had some kind of experience with, where they're either moved too fast, or possibly even the counterpoint of moving too slow. You know, that is also a thing, and maybe something that I'll cover in the future as well. But, you know, I would say don't rush things, because it allows for that extra time. But I guess that also means being present enough to still take part, instead of hanging back so much that you're not involved at all. I don't know, but anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys have been through, your thoughts and experiences around this. Anything else that you would add to what I'd say, or anything you disagree with. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.